Julia Roberts was once the highest-paid actress in Hollywood. Once upon a time, Julia Roberts ruled Hollywood like a queen on a throne of gold. She wasn't just a household name, she was a phenomenon. At her peak, she pocketed $20 million for a single role, a paycheck that shattered ceilings and expectations. But that dazzling reign now feels like a distant echo. Her latest films have fallen far from the mark, missing both critics and audiences. And quietly, beneath the surface, she's been battling something far more threatening. A rare disorder of the blood she's lived with since 2002. A silent shadow that's followed her every step. At 56, Hollywood no longer knows where to place her. She once defined an era, but now she's fighting just to stay on the screen, with Netflix offering a reluctant lifeline. But Julia's story didn't start in front of cameras. It started in a tiny southern town, Smyrna, Georgia, on October 28, 1967. Long before fame, her family had already made a bold imprint on history. Her parents founded the Atlanta Actors and Writers Workshop, one of the few integrated acting schools in the South during segregation. In 1965, they welcomed a student most schools wouldn't, Yolanda King, daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. That decision didn't come without risk. Their neighborhood turned on them. They lost friends, lost support, but they kept teaching in a modest church building, standing firm in a time of fear. Julia was just a baby when this happened, unaware of the storm swirling around her. But that quiet courage laid the foundation for her own convictions. When she was born at Crawford Long Hospital, her family couldn't even afford the bill. $1,286, a mountain back then. But someone stepped in. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King quietly paid it in full. No cameras, no headlines, just a gesture of quiet gratitude. Julia didn't share this story publicly until she was 55. She revealed that Coretta herself came to the hospital to make sure it went through. Days later, Dr. King was gone. That thread between civil rights icons and a future Hollywood legend remained hidden for decades. Julia's childhood wasn't wrapped in warmth. Her parents divorced just before she turned 4. Her mother cited mental cruelty. Her father said she'd abandoned the family. The truth got lost in bitter courtrooms. Her mom soon remarried a factory worker named Michael Moats. He didn't share her father's gentle spirit. He moved them from one rundown house to another. Julia and her siblings learned to live on edge, speaking softly, tiptoeing through tension. She struggled at school, withdrawn, nervous, missing classes. A stutter haunted her until she was 9. Therapy helped, but acting helped more. It gave her a voice when she couldn't find her own. Then came a heartbreak that cracked her world open. In 1978, her father died of throat cancer. He'd hidden the illness, trying to shield her. But when he was gone, she stopped speaking entirely. Her safe place had vanished. The only comfort were cassette tapes he left behind. Bedtime stories recorded just for her. She listened to them every night until the tapes wore out. She was 13. That loss shaped her more than any director ever could. Acting wasn't just a dream. It became a lifeline. A way to process grief she didn't have words for. Meanwhile, life at home only grew more chaotic. Moats's temper worsened. Police visits became routine. Her siblings escaped as soon as they could. Julia stayed behind. In 1976, her half-sister Nancy was born. A baby who would later wrestle with addiction and heartbreak of her own. The house felt more like a minefield than a home. When Julia's mom finally filed for divorce in 1981, She described the marriage as abusive, but the end of that chapter allowed healing to begin. Her mom started a new acting school, volunteered at a shelter, and guarded Julia like a hawk. Julia was 14, growing into her own strength. She originally dreamed of becoming a vet. She loved animals and was sharp in science. But something kept tugging her toward the stage. She played clarinet, acted in school plays, and once fainted during a frog dissection, only to snag the lead in a play that same afternoon. Her old vet once said Julia didn't come to watch surgeries. She came to observe the people. Even then, she was studying character, emotion, humanity. In 1985, diploma in hand and $628 in savings, Julia made the leap. She moved to New York City, sharing a drafty apartment with her sister Lisa. Sometimes they wore coats to bed. She walked everywhere, couldn't afford the subway, and survived on cheap food. She faced over 200 rejections before landing a Clearasil commercial that paid her $825. That check meant everything. It bought her a SAG card and a shot at real auditions. Back in Georgia, she'd locked herself in the bathroom as a child, practicing imaginary Oscar speeches using shampoo bottles as trophies. She wrote dozens of speeches in a journal and kept rehearsing even when the power was out. At 7, she told her brother she'd thank him third when she won her Oscar. And in 2001, she did exactly that. Her big break didn't come easy. Her first TV role on Crime Story was filmed while she burned with fever. She still nailed the scene in one take. On the set of Firehouse, she suffered a mishap with special effects, got injured, and kept filming for 16 straight hours. Money was tight, so tight she once sold her grandfather's pocket watch to pay rent, then bought it back for 8 times the price after she hit it big. It was a cold January day in 1989, and tensions on set had quietly simmered until one cutting remark changed everything. After a particularly emotional scene, her co-star turned to her and snapped, calling it the worst performance he'd ever seen. The words hit her like a tidal wave. Without saying anything, she walked off set and vanished for 6 hours. People whispered, unsure if she'd ever come back. But when she did return, something had shifted, something deep inside her. Even though she had limited screen time in that film, just 38 minutes in total, her rawness made every second unforgettable. So when she received an Oscar nomination, people were stunned. But those who were really paying attention weren't. That unforgettable breakdown scene? It wasn't performed. It was lived. She later admitted the tears weren't rehearsed. They were hers. She was mourning something deeply personal in front of the world, and the cameras just happened to be rolling. While her career was catapulting into a new stratosphere, her love life was unfolding with its own cinematic flair. It all started in a quiet room during the first table read for Steel Magnolias. He slid her a note, handwritten and simple. "You have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen." That was November 28, 1988. Less than 3 weeks later, they were engaged. He gave her an emerald ring that once belonged to his grandmother, and they settled into a modest life in a small West Village apartment. Neighbors would catch glimpses of them doing ordinary things, her picking up groceries, him walking their 3-legged rescue dog. For a moment, they were just another couple in love, far from the Hollywood spotlight. But sometimes, love isn't enough when the world keeps knocking at your door. When she was nearly dropped from Pretty Woman, it was Dylan who stepped in, calling the director personally to fight for her. His loyalty was unshakable. But privacy has a price in Hollywood, and theirs came with a $sign. When a tabloid tried to bribe their doorman for access, offering $25,000, something inside her broke. 2 weeks before Pretty Woman premiered, she called off the wedding. The realization was cruel but clear. She couldn't have both: fame and normalcy. What's even more ironic, she almost didn't land the role that changed her life. The part of Vivian in Pretty Woman was passed around like a hot script no one wanted to touch. One by one, some of the biggest names turned it down: Michelle Pfeiffer, Meg Ryan, Daryl Hannah. They all saw something different in the character. Some said it was too shallow, others too controversial. But on April 3, 1989, Roberts walked in and gave it a shot. Director Gary Marshall saw something intangible in her. He called it luminous vulnerability. But even then, the puzzle wasn't complete. Richard Gere wasn't sold, so Marshall orchestrated a meeting at Gere's place, hoping something might spark. And spark it did. She passed him a little post-it that read, "Please say yes." That single moment rewrote the history of romantic comedies. Their chemistry was electric. It couldn't be forced. It just was. And it convinced Gere to join. But for all the magic on screen, reality was a different story. She was paid just $300,000 for her breakout role. After taxes and agent cuts, that's about $273 per day. She stayed in a hotel for $75 a night, while Gere walked away with $5 million and a profit share that brought his total earnings to around $12 million. Meanwhile, the movie itself exploded into a global phenomenon. On opening weekend alone, it raked in over $11 million. Eventually, it earned $463.4 million worldwide. Her iconic red opera dress inspired $30 million in knockoff fashion sales. Even VHS copies, priced at nearly $90, sold in the millions. Rodeo drives tourism? Up 27%. And yet, she didn't see much of that windfall. What she got instead was a harsh lesson in Hollywood economics. But Roberts was no fool. By 1993, she was charging $10 million per film. By 2000, she shattered ceilings by becoming the first woman to earn $20 million for a single role in Erin Brockovich. She wasn't just acting anymore, she was reshaping the industry. And still, the turbulence in her personal life continued. After Dylan, she fell for Kiefer Sutherland on the set of Flatliners. By August 1990, they were engaged, planning a grand wedding for June of the following year. She picked out an $8,000 gown and $425 shoes. Every detail screamed Hollywood fairy tale. But fairy tales often come with unexpected plot twists. In May 1991, a young woman named Amanda Rice claimed she had been seeing Sutherland. At first, she said he had left Roberts for her. Then she changed her story, saying they were just friends. But by then, the damage was done. Soon after, Roberts was admitted to the hospital, officially for the flu, but speculation swirled. Was it really the flu? Or something heavier weighing on her? She stayed for 5 days, still wearing her engagement ring when she emerged. The wedding still seemed possible, until it wasn't. Just 3 days before the ceremony, Roberts called it off. Sutherland didn't even hear it from her directly. While he was gathering his things from their Beverly Hills home, she was already with Jason Patric, his best friend. On the day that was supposed to be their wedding, Roberts was on a plane to Ireland with Patrick. The press had a field day. She was suddenly branded Hollywood's real-life runaway bride, long before she played one on screen. Years later, she said she had intended to end things gracefully, but Sutherland called her first, and things turned bitter. To his credit, he later admitted she had the courage to walk away, and he respected that. Just 2 years later, in a move no one saw coming, she married country singer Lyle Lovett. It felt like whiplash, a quick pivot from heartbreak to matrimony. The union, as many predicted, didn't last, just 2 years from 1993 to 1995. Some saw it as a response to the chaos of her past, a way to outrun the noise. But in the long run, it was only a detour. The real anchor in her life came in 2002 when she married cinematographer Danny Moder. They kept things low-key, quiet, real. Together, they built a life far away from the spotlight, raising 3 children, twins Hazel and Phineas in 2004 and Henry in 2007. After years of turbulence, she finally found calm waters. By the time Julia Roberts became a household name, she wasn't just charming audiences, she was rewriting Hollywood history. In 1999, she lit up the screen in Notting Hill opposite Hugh Grant, delivering a performance that made $364 million at the global box office and turned the film into a cultural landmark. Just 10 weeks later, she reunited with Richard Gere for Runaway Bride, which cracked $35 million in its opening weekend and topped $309 million overall. Critics may have scoffed, but audiences couldn't get enough. The world simply wanted more Julia, and she gave it to them. But beneath the glamour of romantic comedies, she was already plotting her boldest move yet. A performance that would redefine her entire career and change the industry's perception of female leads forever. That moment came with Erin Brockovich. For the first time in Hollywood history, a woman, Julia, was paid $20 million for a single role, a feat that previously belonged only to powerhouse names like Tom Cruise and Mel Gibson. But the money wasn't what made the risk worthwhile. Playing a single mother who stood up to a corporate giant, Roberts stepped far from her comfort zone of rom-com charm. The gamble paid off spectacularly. Over $200 million at the box office and a clean sweep of awards including the Oscar, Golden Globe, BAFTA, and Screen Actors Guild Award. The night of the Oscars, she joked about taking her time on stage, but there was no doubt she'd earned every second. She was no longer just America's sweetheart, she was a force of nature. Yet, in the middle of her professional triumphs, her personal life was quietly unraveling. Just after marrying Danny Moder in 2002, Julia began feeling inexplicably exhausted. Strange bruises appeared on her skin. Her husband noticed what she tried to dismiss. It wasn't just fatigue, it was a warning. Tests confirmed a diagnosis that changed everything. ITP, a rare autoimmune blood disorder that affects just 3.3 adults per 100,000. Her immune system was mistakenly attacking her platelets, those tiny cells responsible for clotting blood. Without treatment, even a small injury could have led to severe complications. Julia was suddenly balancing the pressures of Hollywood with a condition that forced her to tiptoe through each day. Still, she didn't slow down. She underwent a complex regimen of treatments, steroids, immunoglobulin infusions, even advanced drugs like romiplostim, all while keeping her illness a secret from the public. Makeup covered the bruises. Custom wardrobes disguised the swelling. Film crews never knew the battle she was fighting between takes. She didn't ask for pity. She wanted privacy. What the world saw was a glowing movie star. What they didn't see was a woman braving sleepless nights, dangerous platelet dips, and appointments that couldn't wait. Her courage became even more apparent when, despite her diagnosis, she gave birth to twins in 2004 and a third child in 2007. It wasn't just a medical miracle, it was an emotional victory. Julia's dream of motherhood had seemed out of reach, but her determination brought it to life. Behind every red carpet appearance was a mother juggling medical reports, school pickups, and film shoots with almost impossible grace. But family matters weren't always joyous. Her bond with her brother, actor Eric Roberts, had been fractured since the early 90s, when he lost a bitter custody battle for his daughter Emma. Julia supported the child's mother instead. She funded legal help, stood by her side, and severed ties with her brother for over a decade. The two eventually reconciled when Julia gave birth, but the damage had lingered. Yet her involvement shaped Emma's life. Today, Emma Roberts is a star in her own right, following the path her aunt had once blazed. Family heartbreak hit again in 2014 when Julia's half-sister, Nancy Moats, died tragically. Their relationship had always been tense. Trust issues, past accusations, and emotional scars created distance. Julia chose not to attend Nancy's wedding, worried about the people involved. Then, just weeks later, came the loss that left the Roberts family reeling. Julia canceled all public appearances. For a woman used to hiding her pain, this moment silenced even her public smile. Still, her career kept evolving. While her dominance at the box office faded, her pivot to streaming proved savvy. In 2023, Julia returned to form with Leave the World Behind, a thriller released on Netflix. Working alongside Mahershala Ali and Ethan Hawke, she commanded a $25 million paycheck, matching her prime-era salaries without needing theaters to fill seats. Millions watched from their couches. Julia had adapted, once again proving her ability to navigate an ever-changing industry. Her luxury lifestyle, though understated, reflects her massive success. Julia owns multiple homes, including a sprawling ranch in Taos, New Mexico, a Manhattan penthouse, and a $9.5 million Malibu estate overlooking the ocean. Her garage has featured elite vehicles like the Toyota Prius for everyday use, and high-end models like the Mercedes GL Class and Audi Q7. She's often seen wearing timepieces from Cartier and Panthère de Cartier collections. Her private jet, used mostly for international shoots and family travel, ensures she moves on her own terms. Financially, she has invested in sustainable brands and co-founded Red Om Films, which backs female-centric projects. Her insurance coverage has been exhaustive. Comprehensive health coverage, asset protection on her properties, and career interruption clauses in film contracts, all protecting a net worth that now exceeds $250 million. Her approach to wealth is strategic. Value-driven real estate, smart collaborations, and a clear focus on long-term returns, not quick fame. Julia Roberts' journey teaches something profound. Glory isn't just about rising high. It's about staying steady when the spotlight fades. From a young actress in Mystic Pizza to an industry icon navigating disease, betrayal, and reinvention, her story is one of resilience. She never needed a cape or franchise to become unforgettable. She wrote her legacy with courage, choices, and quiet strength. And even now, behind those familiar eyes and radiant smile, there's a fighter who never gave up and never asked the world to notice when she bled. She simply moved forward, one scene at a time.